friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today I'm going to be making some bone broth. So a couple of days ago we dispatched our chickens, our broilers, the meat birds, and we love to process them already into separate pieces. I like to have my chicken breast separate from thighs, from wings, all of that take apart. And I also save up all of the carcasses with the necks and the spine and all of that to make broth, bone broth. And I have two large pots going behind me where I like to put just all of those bones with a little bit of meat left over on them, and I like to cook it for a long time, 24 hours, to make nice and rich bone broth, because it's so good for us. It's good for our healing the gut, increasing collagen in our body. It's good for your skin, it's good for your joints, it's good for your bones. So for those of you who are struggling with osteoporosis, collagen is a wonderful thing. All right, but what do you do with these guys? What do you do with these? These are the chicken legs, right? And some of you may gonna say, ooh, yo, disgusting. Well, you know, it's kind of disgusting, but also it's pretty cool. So if you don't raise your own chickens, you don't raise your own meat birds, you can always find chicken legs in the grocery section. They will be already packaged. Very often meat markets, especially ethnic meat markets, and we have a lot of them here in New England, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian meat markets, and we can find them specifically separately packaged. And some people cook them with different ways. I know there's an Asian way of cooking them, but I'm going to be making simple bone broth using chicken legs. Now, growing up, I remember Mama made this dish in my language. It's called холодец. In some areas of the former Soviet Union, it was called studень, meaning that it's cold, gelatinous meat broth, and it's when it settles, it's thick and like gel-like collagen meat broth. I think in English it's called, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up. I can't remember. It's not very common, but I do know it's common in French cooking as well. So today I'm gonna be making bone broth using chicken legs. And I'm gonna be using a crock pot, because I find that in a crock pot, it's very easy. You just set it and you forget it. And it's very little water evaporates, so you don't really lose that much of liquid, unlike in my big pots over there. You do lose some of the liquid. All right, so let me show you how I'm gonna do it. It's super simple, but it's really good for us, really good for us. Okay, in case you find like a little pads that did not clean very well, this can be found even in purchased chicken legs. I've seen that. This can be easily cut out. Just take a sharp knife and just cut off that little darkened piece. It's probably because that's where the chicken sat on a lot, and it created like calluses. And same thing here, right between the toes, just with a sharp knife, just slide it right off and make it nice and clean. That's all. It's not difficult at all. See, it's off. All right, so, and then cutting off toes, I mean not the toes, the nails, is super easy. Just sharp knife and just press it down and it's done. All right, just like this. All right, so I have a nice little pile here, and now I just fill everything up with cold water. All right, now there's not much meat on them at all, so don't expect to find meat as far as the meaty. This is more about collagen, because the chicken legs are mainly skin, bones, and cartilage, and that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm gonna add a little bit more water, so I'll cover everything with about 1 inch or 2 of water on top. Okay, so this is about 1 inch or so of water on top. And now I'm gonna plug it in and I'm gonna put it on high. Okay, so now it's cooking on high, and the reason why I set it on high, because I want it to come to a boil. And when it's almost coming to a boil, it's gonna start creating this foamy scum on top. It's because it's leftover blood or whatever may be boiling off from the cartilage, from the bones, and I'm going to be skimming that off. And the reason why I'm skimming that off because I want my bone broth to be clear and very, very clean. None of that cloudy stuff. So it's going to take me a little while, and you have to be patient with it, but it takes anything, either a spoon, or I have one of these guys. Hold on a second. It's like this, and literally you skim with that to catch anything that may be floating on top. And it's more is going to be creating as it's bubbling. So keep skimming that, keep like picking it up and throwing it away, okay? Only after all that scum is gone that I'm going to be adding my aromatics, because if I added them now, there's a chance that I can accidentally skim it off and throw it away. So my aromatics include garlic, and I take a whole garlic clove or a whole garlic head and I put it in there and let it cook and release its goodness. Then I will take either a whole onion or onion peels. And if you guys know, I love to make my bone broths with onion peels. And what I do is throughout the year, as I am cooking with my organic onion, as I'm peeling my organic onion, I love to save those peels, and maybe with one layer of an onion. And I store it in my refrigerator in my aromatic bag. And then when I'm making broth, I pull it out and I put it in a broth to cook. Also, anytime when I'm cooking with herbs, I love to save the stalks of herbs. I like to use the soft part for cooking or for garnishing, and all the stalks go into that aromatic bag, and then when it's time, I put it in my broth. All right, also I'm going to be putting some peppercorns and some juniper berries because I love the aroma of that. On top of that, what else? Oh yes, bay leaf, of course, bay leaf. Now, you may put some salt now, or you can wait till the end. It really doesn't matter when you add the salt. However, there is some literature that supports adding salt during cooking, period. Why? Because the salt will help to draw out some of the minerals from the bone. And of course, I already have it ready set. I'm going to be adding a little bit of apple cider vinegar, because again, apple cider vinegar, and not much. I'm talking about maybe 2 tablespoons the most. It's going to help to pull out some of those minerals, rich minerals, from the bone as well. You know, many people know this, that, there's a lot of calcium in the bones. But besides calcium, there's so many other minerals. Calcium is just one of them. There's phosphorus and potassium and magnesium and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what else is very important component in the bones, in our bones, human bones too, is cartilage. Okay, it's a matrix of cartilage that is, collagen. It's a matrix of collagen that is so important for our bone health. So that is why bone broth from chicken or beef is so good. So good. So that is exactly why I am making this chicken leg bone broth. So a question may come, and I'm sure it's going to be coming. May I use Instapot? And to be honest with you, maybe. I don't know. I don't have an Instapot, so I don't use it. I have a crock pot and regular stove, and that's what I use. But yes, I'm sure there are recipes how to use Instapot or like pressure cooking pot to increase the speed of cooking. And perhaps that will work as well. But in my case, I'm going to be using low and slow for a long time. Okay, it came to a boil. Now I added the bay leaf and the peppercorns and some other aromatics, and it's going to sit here and cook on low. I just turned it down to low. I don't know if you guys can see it. And it's going to cook till tomorrow morning, which is going to be probably close to 18 hours. So I'll show you what it looks like tomorrow morning. See you later, chicken legs. Okay, so this has been cooking for 22 hours, and I just shut it off. Wow, it's so steamy. So what's cool about it is that because it's a crock pot, it really doesn't lose that much fluid in evaporation. It has lost a little bit, of course, but not as much. Look how beautiful, rich color this is. Oh my goodness, and it smells so good. All right, so I turned it off, and I'm going to allow it to cool off a little bit before I handle it because it's very hot. I don't want any accidents with burning. And I will expect to see some of the fat rise up at the top that I want to skim off before I store this away, before I put everything through a sieve to remove any of these legs, because they are super soft. They've been boiling for such a long time that they literally will disintegrate. And when it's completely cooled off, I will store it away in the fridge, and not before that. It's never recommended to put anything still hot in a fridge, because we want this to have to be stored in the fridge for a while, at least a couple of weeks, and it's going to become nice and thick gelatinous when it sits and cools off in a fridge. Okay, so I will show you that, guys, later. Okay, so it cooled off a little bit. Now it's time for me to actually put it in the jars. So I'm going to be using my glass jars. You can use in pints or quarts or whatever you like, really. And I've decided to use a sieve because I need to make sure that I collect anything that was in the broth. I don't want it to go in my jar, and I'm using a strainer just to help to kind of catch everything. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put everything in my jars now. It's turned into a nice, beautiful, rich color. Look at that. So once it goes in a fridge and it cools off completely, this broth will turn into nice and thick gelatinous substance. Okay, and you may ask, okay, so now what do I do with it? How do I use it, right? What's the purpose of it? Well, because it is so rich with collagen and other minerals, it can be used in many different recipes. So for example, you are making a gravy. You can use that, put a couple of tablespoons or so into your gravy. Or you are sauteing vegetables. Take 2, 3, 4 tablespoons, whatever you need, into sauteing your vegetables when you need to soften them up a little bit. Or you can just warm it up with a little bit of salt and pepper and just drink it. It's a really, really nutritious component to heal your gut, to improve your joints, okay? Because it's so rich with all the good things. All right, so how long can this store in the fridge? In the fridge, it can store for a couple of weeks. All right, so that's why it is good to make a small amount. It just happened that I had a lot of chicken legs. All right. All right, so I got 3 quarts out of all of this ordeal. I'm just gonna put covers on, and the jar is now cooled off a little bit so I can safely put them in the fridge. But I just want to, guys, show you what's left over from these chicken legs. They all falling apart. But the bone is, look how brittle the bone is. Can you guys see? It's like literally disintegrates in my hands because all of the important nutrients leached out into the broth from those bones. That's why bone broth is so good for us. Okay, friends, so I've got 3 lovely quarts of bone broth, and it's going to be super thick. All right, I hope you guys are encouraged to make your own bone broth, because when you're at the store and you're looking for chicken broth, bone broth, or whatever, flip out the package of the back of it and read the ingredients in it. What are the ingredients in here I have right now? Chicken feet and some aromatics and water, and that's it. And it's gonna created that beautiful thick gelatinous bone broth, which is so good for us, because the commercially prepared ones often have preservatives to give them a longer shelf life, but that's not what we want. We want a natural, safe product that is actually good and nourishing to us. So friends, don't be disgusted by little chicken feet. Go to the store, pick up a few, and make a beautiful and very affordable bone broth. So, my friends, on this note, be encouraged and try something new.